nearly 4,000 years ago. In the land between the rivers of the Tigris and the Euphrates, an ambitious king rose from obscurity. His name was Hammurabi, a man who would forge an empire out of chaos and inscribe laws that still echo through the corridors of history. Hammurabi ascended the throne of Babylon in 1792 BCE. At the time, Babylon was not the mighty empire we imagine today. It was a modest city-state, surrounded by larger and more powerful rivals. Larsa to the south, Mari to the west, and Elam beyond the mountains. Hammurabi inherited little more than a city, but he possessed vision, patience, and a relentless determination. Instead of rushing into wars he could not win, Hammurabi began with diplomacy. He forged alliances, strengthened trade routes, and expanded irrigation systems. By improving Babylon's agriculture and infrastructure, he won the loyalty of his people and attracted merchants from distant lands. Babylon prospered, and with prosperity came strength. But Mesopotamia was never a land of peace for long. Rival kings watched each other with suspicion, waiting for weakness. Hammurabi proved himself a master strategist. He struck at the right moments, using both military cunning and political trickery. First, he allied with Mari to defeat common enemies. Then, when Mari's strength threatened his own, he turned and conquered it. Step by step, Hammurabi subdued the kingdoms around him. He defeated Ishnuna in the east, crushed Larsa in the south, and brought the city of Ashur under his command. By the end of his campaigns, Hammurabi ruled from the Persian Gulf in the south to the upper reaches of Mesopotamia in the north. Babylon was no longer a city-state. It was the center of the first true Babylonian empire. But conquest was only half of Hammurabi's genius. To rule such a vast land, with so many peoples and traditions, he needed order and needed law. In 1754 BCE, he unveiled what would become his most enduring legacy: the Code of Hammurabi. Carved into a massive black stone stele, the code contained nearly 300 laws. It was placed in the heart of Babylon for all to see. No longer were laws hidden in the minds of judges or priests. They were written, permanent, unchanging. The code dealt with every corner of life: marriage and divorce, theft and trade, agriculture and debt. From the fields of farmers to the courts of nobles, Hammurabi's laws declared one principle above all: justice must be visible, and justice must be enforced. Yet Hammurabi's justice was not the justice we know today. It was harsh. Retribution was the guiding rule. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If a builder constructed a house that collapsed and killed the owner, the builder himself could be executed. If a son struck his father, the son's hand would be cut off. These punishments were brutal, but they made clear that actions had consequences. However, the code also revealed the deep divisions of Babylonian society. Punishments were not equal. If a noble injured another noble, the penalty might be severe. But if the same crime was committed against a commoner, the punishment was lighter. Slaves had the fewest protections of all. Hammurabi's law bound society together, but it also reinforced its hierarchies. Still, the Code of Hammurabi marked a turning point. For the first time, a ruler declared that law was not just the will of the king, it was something greater, something carved in stone, applying to all. Hammurabi even claimed that the laws were given to him by Shamash, the Mesopotamian sun god and god of justice. By tying law to the divine, he gave it legitimacy beyond his own reign. Beyond law and conquest, Hammurabi was a builder. He strengthened Babylon's walls, dug new canals to water the fields, and restored temples to the gods. He understood that power rested not only on the sword, but also on the prosperity of his people and the favor of the divine. Under his reign, Babylon flourished. Trade expanded, agriculture thrived, and the city began to rise as the jewel of Mesopotamia. But empires, like men, do not last forever. Hammurabi ruled for 42 years, and when he died in 1750 BCE, his successors lacked his brilliance. Within decades, the Babylonian Empire began to fracture. Rival kingdoms rose again, and Hammurabi's conquests faded into memory. Yet his code did not disappear. Copies of it were made, carried, and studied by later civilizations: the Assyrians, the Persians, and even the Greeks and Romans would inherit his vision of law. Today, Hammurabi's stone stele survives. It stands in the Louvre Museum in Paris, its cuneiform inscription still clear after nearly 4,000 years. Visitors who gaze upon it see more than just ancient symbols. They see the foundation of an idea that society must be governed by law, not by chaos. Hammurabi was more than a king. He was a conqueror who united Mesopotamia, a builder who raised Babylon to greatness, and a lawgiver who etched his authority into stone. His empire may have crumbled, but his code endures. 4,000 years later, the voice of Hammurabi still speaks of order, of power, and of the eternal struggle to balance justice and control. Hammurabi, the lawgiver of Babylon, the man who turned chaos into order and carved the first great chapter of law into the history of civilization.